Okay, so the first thing would be immediately when you spawn, get moving. Like, start running.
Okay.
Because you should be actually in front of this tiny right now, especially because you have a windlace and he doesn't, right? So you actually should be about right here right now. Like, just like 2 or 3 seconds faster. And then, the longer you wait here, this is more and more time, right? He's had time to already get here and place this ward. And that is purely because of how fast he was moving. Because he doesn't even have a windlace. So he's got 320 move speed, you have 340. That means that you should actually be able to get here first, assuming that both of you ran here as fast as you could. Just looking at the mini maps, you see your position versus Silencer's position. You should beat him here because you have higher move speed. And it's basically equal distant, more or less. This is slightly closer to his side of the map, but this is basically equal distant. So because you took a little bit longer to get out of base, and then because you sat here for a few seconds, he gets here first. He gets the ward down, which means now, because you're late, you have to assume that he's done this. You have no idea what's over here because you have no vision, right? So the longer you take to walk over, you could be walking into all 5 heroes sitting right here. You have no idea. And you don't know if they have a ward, so he gets to see you. And then because he can see you, now OD's walking over, and then PA's going to walk over, and this is purely because of the ward, because he got here first. So, and this would be okay if you had teammates with you, because then we would have a mini team fight. But because you're solo, your only option is to run away. So the lesson here is really 2 things. First off, if you're going to run here to try and do any warding or whatever, you have to get here as fast as possible. And second, if you're going to be late or you don't know what you're walking into, you need to assume that you're walking into the worst thing possible, which is you're walking into all 5 heroes. They're sitting right here waiting to kill you and they already have a ward, right? That's the worst case scenario. So you have to think about what's going to go wrong and then think about the best thing, right? And this can be all throughout the game. This can be relevant, you know, when you're walking to go grab a rune, when you want to walk into their triangle to put a ward down. Hey, are they doing Roche right now? Let me walk in and see if they're doing Roche. Doesn't matter. You have to assume the worst is going to happen if you have no information and then play around that. But specifically at the start of the game, people can only make it to certain positions based on their movement speed. So if you know you're a slow hero or you know you're going to buy boots, that affects where you can get right when the buzzer spawns. Like as soon as the map loads in, if you start moving, there's only a finite amount of places you can get to based on your movement speed. So you have to factor that in. And the longer you like wait to like, I don't know, pass someone a ward or decide who's going to go on what lane or decide what items you're going to buy, the more of that range that you're sacrificing effectively. Any questions about any of that?
No, I got it.
Okay. It's actually like a pretty big deal. And I noticed this is definitely something that lower ranked players screw up all the time. They just take forever to get out of the base.
And I normally buy my items like in like beforehand. But like I think I was like speaking like in the chat, like so I was like I forgot to get them if like and then like like
this happens to me as well, and it also happens especially like let's say I'm loading into the game and I have no idea what their lanes are. Like they pick a bunch of weird heroes and I'm sitting here trying to figure it out and I'm like, do I need this item or that item? And then I spend a lot of this time thinking about that and buying my items. All that means is that if I spend that time, I then am not allowed to walk over here and do this. I am sacrificing the tempo in the early part of the game for good itemization or a good lane matchup. I can't have both. If I'm gonna have both, it means I need to decide that before the game starts, buy the items I know I want, and run to the place I want to be at immediately. But regardless, it's just a case of like it's kind of accepting the place that you're in and then playing around it. So in this case, you know you spent a lot of time. It's like, okay, I have to accept that. I spent a lot of time. I'm not allowed to make this movement anymore because I have no information, right? Let's say you spent a lot of time and you got here really late and then all 5 enemy heroes showed right here. Obviously, you're now allowed to do it. But in that case, if you go put a ward down, you then have to still assume that they got here first and put a ward down and then saw you placing the ward. You see how that all
Yeah.
works? There's a very this is a very specific part of the game where like tempo is like everything is like before the creep spawn. It's a very strange. It's like a pregame phase. It's like a turn 0.
Yeah, I thought we had like the stronger like level one team. So I was like, oh, we should like fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that can be, you may be right, you may be wrong, but in this instance, you're 1v3 and your team's over here. So
Yeah.
whether or not that's true is irrelevant because this is the only place your team is, right? So if that was your thinking, then it would be, hey guys.
I was trying to get them to join.
Yeah.
Ruin.
And that's totally fine. But then if that was the case, then you would want to buy a smoke. You'd want to say, hey guys, let's go here. And you'd smoke them immediately and you'd all run down. You would tell them where you want to go. And then you'd actually see if they're doing it. Because like what happens if you smoke and then 3 of them are AFK in the base? Well, now you can't do it anymore, right? Because you only have 40% of your team. So it's what we want to do versus what's actually happening or what has happened. And we have to adjust. We can't just put on our blinders and be like, well, I know I'm strong level 1, so I'm going to go. Well, you're not strong enough to kill 3 heroes, which could be what you're walking into. So that was a lot to do with that. But the side effect of that is that you spend all of this time running away, and good job not dying, you know, good juking and all that stuff. But your lane is effectively ruined at this point. Which is why, I mean, in all honesty, the best thing you could do is go get yourself killed to creeps, and then so you can get away. And I wouldn't even TP. Like, I would prefer to die here so that I can TP into the lane fresh. Ideally, we don't want to give them first blood, right? So that's what you're trying to not do. But, you know, like... Yeah, so now you've lived. Honestly, don't spend any more regen. Just run straight into the ancients and kill yourself. So that, because the time of you running here, dying, respawning, and TPing in is shorter than the time it takes you to regen and buy regen and courier it out and then keep using regen. It's going to take you like maybe another minute to get to full health. Like you gotta buy like a salve and a clarity, and you're going to be out of the lane regardless because you're so like gimped now. So it's good that you survived, but what we would want is we'd want to start the game not being in a position where you had to juke and survive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the lane doesn't even start for you yet. You have to play super duper passive now. I'm actually going to fast forward it until you are full health again, just to kind of show you like how disastrous this is. All right, we could say around here, you know, around this point. There you go. It took you, with your tranquil boots, it took you about 4 minutes to get back to 100%.
Okay.
See how disastrous that is? And that's why I'm saying it would be better to either go kill yourself on creeps, let them have first blood, or just like immediately send a salve and a clarity. And dying to the creeps is the cheapest option, and it's the fastest option. So that's kind of the best one. The only downside to dying to creeps is that you don't get a TP scroll off of it. But if you haven't spent it, that's okay. So, yeah. So at this point, because you've had such a bad start, I would say this lane phase is not super relevant anymore. But we can watch it from this point onwards, but I would say it's already almost 5 minutes. We've kind of missed almost the entire lane phase, in a way.
Okay.
But we can watch it a little bit and we can see, because the question was, you know, how do we harass without screwing creep equilibrium, right?
Yeah. I tried to just get like the XP, so like I wasn't too far behind and stuff.
Well,
yeah.
So if you have a spell that's AoE, what you want, what's the ideal case? So this is a really good exercise to do. What is the best case use for Earth Spike? in your mind? Like the absolute dream Earth Spike, what would it be?
Get 2 heroes and secure the range creep.
Right, it would be killing the creeps and hitting them at the same time, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to you don't want to damage the creeps and leave the creeps low.
If I can get a 2 hero thing, I'll get it. I'll go for it over like doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because then like if my ally can like do like use it, like if that makes sense, it'll be like it's worth it normally, if that makes sense. If I get a double hero, what?
Yeah, like I would say that the absolute best Earth Spike you could really hope for would be somehow the entire creep wave is low and they're standing right next to each other and they're also low, and you Earth Spike once and kill the entire wave and both heroes at the same time.
Oh, like see, I thought like I wouldn't want to kill them because it's like for Bristle to have.
Yeah, but if you're killing heroes, that's fine, right? So that's a trade-off. So okay, so the next best one would be you kill both heroes and don't steal any creeps. That would be the next best one. The next one from that would be, okay, what creeps are acceptable to kill to get a kill or harass at the same time, and that would be the banner creep or the ranged creep, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'll look it up. So what you actually want to be paying attention to then, to inform your spellcasting, is the creeps. So, for example, like good times to use your spells, if we just watch the thing in slow motion. So this is a bad usage because it brings the range creep below 50% HP, right?
Oh, okay.
So you'd want to wait. Now that it is 50% HP, now it's a good usage of it. Now you would want to use your spell to secure these creeps. But this allows Silencer to deny this creep. Stunning her right before she's going to go for a creep to act as kind of a semi-deny. That can be another good usage of this. So like right here, this is excellent because you're going to get this creep and you're stunning her right before she's going to get this creep. That's what we want. That's very good. And I think that's okay that you're hitting the other creeps as well. That's a good usage. But the other thing that you were worried about was, well, what if I damage all the creeps and push the creep wave, right?
Yeah.
So that means this camp needs to be secure. It means you need to know that it's not blocked. And you even have sentries to do it, but you haven't had the time to do it yet. Or you have had the time, but you've been kind of distracted with catching up. So the knock-on effect of walking here by yourself was that also this camp was never dewarded because you were distracted by being low health, right? Ideally, what would happen is we would show up here full health. We would immediately get control of this camp or fight Silencer and make sure that this thing can spawn as best as we can. He can still stop it if he really wants to, but as best as we can. You know, if he's all the way over here, this is a great time for you to go get this creep. Like, I'll just watch it back a little bit because this camp has been blocked since the creep spawned. So we'll look for instances of this. So right now, obviously, you can't do it because you're running away. I'm watching the minimap right now. So let's pretend that right here you went, okay, this is screwed up. I'm gonna run over here, kill myself, and I'm gonna TP back in. That would be roughly, let's say 20 to 30 seconds. And then you would come back, so it'd be about 1:30. So let's just jump ahead to that. You come back, and this is about when you would be TPing back in, and you'd be full health, full mana, right? So your goal immediately is to first off verify if this camp is here, and because you want this camp regardless, you want control of this camp. And Bristleback and you are both good heroes for contesting this camp because you have AoE. You're much better than a Silencer PA with next to no AoE because Arcane Curse sucks, right? So the hard camp should be to your advantage to utilize, especially because you have both more wave push and you have the ability to clear the camp with AoE spells. So in this lane, we would want to guarantee our hard camp, and a secondary thing is we'd want to deny them their small camp. So what we would now do, assuming that we're full health here, what we would want to do is harass this. We play on the side. We would harass this silencer away. And as soon as he's too far away, then we would deward our camp. So you'd have to get vision on this first. So let me put it on this one. We put on Fog, Dire. And let's see. You have to verify that the camp has even spawned yet. So that means you need to get over here. Because you don't even know if it's actually spawned, right?
Yeah, it's just I wanted to, but like I know PA can like jump, like hit.
Yeah, I know. You're worried about it because you're low health. I'm saying, assuming that you were full health here because you had.
Oh, okay.
You'd either not made the mistake down here, running down by yourself, or you had then fixed it by suiciding. Then you would be full health, right?
Yeah.
This whole replay is tainted by this one movement.
Oh.
So we're assuming that we don't do that mistake, and then what? So then it would be okay. The camp and harassing would be the next things we'd be thinking about.
Yeah.
So right here, silencer hasn't been showing for a very long time. This is perfect. So right now, you're safe because it's pulled up. You would walk over here. You would see that the camp is blocked, and then you'd be like, aha! Send a sentry or have a sentry ahead of time is even better. Unblock it, and then you're going to know that you're going to have it at 3 minutes. And then at 3 minutes, we can then decide what to do with it, right? So if we keep going, let's just jump to 3 minutes and see what it looks like around 3 minutes. So right here, now it's 3 minutes. We're assuming that the camp is spawned. So then what does the current lane situation tell you about what your next options would be?
To pull the lane.
Well, let's look at the creeps. Let's look at bristleback situation, and let's think about everything. Just the only thing that's different is that we're assuming that this camp has spawned.
We should pull it.
Do you need to pull it?
I feel like he'll kill this camp, but then after that, it's like it'll be low, if that like makes sense.
Maybe I'm not asking the question correctly. So so if we assume that this hard camp spawns, then what you would want to do is you'd want to look at the creeps and you'd want to see what the lane equilibrium is doing. So
like, do I need to?
Yeah.
Do I want it closer to my tower?
Exactly. So first off, you would ask yourself, what is it doing? And then you would ask yourself, well, you could do it in the reverse. First, you would ask, what is it doing? And then you would ask, well, what do I want it to do? Right?
Yeah.
Or the other way around. What do I want it to do? And then what is it doing? So in this instance, you can look at it and you can be like, okay, they've got 5 creeps. We have 1 creep. Moreover, they have 3 ranged creeps. So what that tells you with the 3 range creeps is that this wave is going to be pushing for quite a while. So creep equilibrium is going to be in your favor for a long time because of these 3 range creeps. And so basically what that means is that once this friendly range creep is dealt with, you guys are going to be falling back, right? Because you don't want to sit here and fight the creeps and just tank them all. So it's going to be deny this creep and then fall back, right? And then at that point, you'd say, actually, Bristleback's safe. He doesn't need me anymore because he's in front of his tower and he has a bunch of creeps. And PA doesn't actually threaten him at all. You know, it's not like it's a Viper or something. Like PA doesn't really kill a Bristleback under his tower, especially once he has Ring of Health. Like, he's kind of fine. So that would be then, okay, great. So now the creeps are in a good spot. What do I want to do? Is there any objective at all that I could roam for? Once the creeps are here, yeah. But then you would think about it and you think, okay, what happens around 3:15? Well, the bounty rune has just spawned. That's an objective. The water runes aren't coming up. There's one sitting here right now, but the next time that's going to happen is 4 minutes. There's nothing to stack at 3:15. So the only other thing to do at that point would be to make sure that Silencer isn't pulling his small camp.
Yeah.
Because that's, when would he want to pull it? It would be, do you know the time that he would want to pull it?
3:55.
Or what? What's the other time?
255.
For there's 2 times per minute you can pull it.
219.
Yeah, right. It's basically like the 15 to 20 minute timing or 20-second timing, and then there's like the 45 to 55 second timing, right? Depending on what direction you're pulling it and if you want to stack it first and all that junk, right? And if it's nighttime or daytime. But basically it would be right now 3:13, right? So you have about 4 seconds to get here and interrupt whatever he's going to do. Because a good silencer, let's put it on all vision here. A good silencer who is doing not this would be looking at these creeps right now and would say, the lane is pushing. That means we're going to be right here, and that's not good for my carry, right? So he would be like, aha, I want to pull this next camp. And I haven't taken the time to stack it. That means I'm going to have to do a half pull. And so because he knows that, you would then know, aha, silencer wants to pull the camp. You see how this is layering?
Yeah.
And then that would mean, I need to get over here and I need to pull it before he has a chance to pull it, or I need to just nuke all the creeps with my spell, right?
But if the enemy makes the bad play, do I not do it? What do I do in that? Because if that like this situation where he hasn't pulled it,
right?
Like, if that makes sense, like what's the play for him not playing well then, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so he is. You have to think of it in terms of plays and opportunities. So this silencer has an opportunity to do a play, right? He's in a situation, he has the opportunity to do something about it. If he misses that opportunity, you can just say in your brain, -1 MMR, right? And this goes for you as well. Let's say you were playing the silencer. If you miss this opportunity, -1 MMR. And so, but then if the other heroes don't do anything about it, so like if he doesn't pull it, then you don't have to fix it. So it's a net change of 0. If he goes and pulls it and you don't fix it, then it's your loss. If he doesn't do the good play, you don't have to do anything. So it's a net 0. If he does the good thing and then you have the appropriate response of running over here and like countering the pull by pulling it early or killing the creep super fast, then it's a net change 0 again, right? Or maybe it's a +1 for you, whatever it may be. But basically, he's missed the opportunity, so that doesn't force you to do anything. So the answer is literally nothing. You just have to verify that he's not doing the right thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be a case of you would walk over here, you would try and get vision of the silencer, but you don't want to just run over here by yourself because then they 2v1 you and that's bad, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you have to just kind of play passive for a second, see what the PA does, and if the PA sits here, then what you get to do is wrap around to the left and go see if he's actually pulling it. If the PA leaves, now you're actually not allowed to do it because then she's in a position to 2v1 you. And it's actually, it's even harder with a PA because PA is hypermobile. So if you're over here, she can jump to you. So you don't actually get to play on the left as much.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want it, because I know like she'll just blink me.
Right.
Like even like if whatever she like to blink, and I was like, oh, if she blinks, like Bristol won't help me realistically. Like
yeah,
he won't. Like he's just gonna stay.
Yeah.
And then it's like in my head, it's like I die. Like even if like Bristol was to go on like their silencer or something, PA kills me before he kills silencer. So then silencer would get my int. Even if it's like a 1-for-1, like silencer then gets my int, if that makes sense.
Right, exactly. And so that's why, and that's everything you said is completely right. So Bristleback cannot stop PA from jumping you. And so that means you're not allowed to walk over here and 1v1 the silencer, because that 1v1 turns into a 2v1 very quickly. Remember that episode we were talking about lane matchups? That's coming back to that concept. She has more mobility than you. So she has more ability to be in both places at once. It's like a Schrodinger's PA, right? Yeah, she's either in the lane or she's fighting me. It's kind of both at the same time, so I have to kind of play like it's both. So that puts you in a rough spot, and it basically means that you can't contest this camp now.
Yeah.
So that's why you would have to be thinking about all of this stuff ahead of time, and you'd have to be preparing for this ahead of time. So what that means is that any opportunity you have to get over here and block this camp, you have to take it, because you know that you can't solo contest the silencer because the PA can gank you.
Yeah.
So you have to plan ahead, basically. You have to do all this mental arithmetic, and you have to plan ahead. Because when you're in this situation, even though this situation is good for you, if silencer does the correct play, it then becomes maybe bad for you.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but yeah, that's basically the answer. Is you can't do anything about it now, unless you have other information. Unless this PA makes a mistake, like, you know, she stands here and tries to fight Bristleback for the creeps, and you then get to walk away, or she randomly runs under the tower and dies. It's like, oh, great. Well, now her mistake has overlapped my mistake, and so now I do get to walk over here because she's dead.
Yeah, I just tried to like take most of their mana so they couldn't do things, and then I know she had a wand, so like I think I was gonna like get the thing what stops it from me like, healing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, neither of them have a wand, but you should both have wands. So what we would do then is we would back up to the very start of the game, and we would look at the draft, and we'd say, okay, I know they have picked PA. I can assume PA is going to be in the bot lane. I know I'm going to have a Bristleback. Both of those heroes are magic stick heroes. That, like, the magic stick is the counter to both of them. They both should buy it. That means I should also buy it.
What I thought was like, what I normally do, like if they're like things, like I rush boots, like fight, like get almost like to death, and then go run and stack like the ancients, whilst I heal, and then come back full.
So your plan was, I'm going to get tranquil boots to allow me to roam to make stacks for Bristleback.
Like no, it's like to like make like so like I get them so I fight like use all my like get all like I fight like I get really low,
Yeah.
and then I can just walk to like the thing, like stack the thing, and then just heal up on like the mana whilst I'm there. And
Yeah.
it's like I would like
Yeah.
come back, and then because like in my head it's like they can't kill him. He gets like solo XP. I get the stack, and then I'm back to being able to fight again.
Yeah, that's all fine. I mean, Tranquil Boots are a good option on Lion for exactly that reason, because he has infinite mana regen already.
Yeah.
And you get to do things like that. But I would still say you want to start with a stick here. So, like, if I was showing up in this lane, right? And I'm like, okay, it's Bristleback, Lion, or Bristleback, Lion versus PA, and I would actually assume it's a Dazzle. I wouldn't assume it's a Silencer, but let's just say I'm a god and I read that it's a Silencer 5, right? So I would say, you know, if I was at the top of my game, I'd be like, okay, so how does this work on the side? Am I allowed to 1v1 Silencer, or is that bad? And because of the thing that we identified, if PA has more mobility, I'd have to say, probably not. I'm not actually allowed to play the side because they have the advantage on the side. So that means I need to buy sentries to block this camp. And also, I know we have a better ability to push the wave and contest a camp that has been pulled into. So that means I should have the hard camp available. So basically, this lane is not really accounted for unless you've shown up with a stick, an observer ward, and 2 sentries. Otherwise, you're not actually ready to play this, because you're not ready to block the camp, you're not ready to unblock, you're not ready to know what Silencer is doing, you're not ready to regen, because a stick is very good in this lane. It's amazing in this. Like, this it's so good here that you could probably start with Magic Wand and it wouldn't be bad. But I wouldn't do that. But you could do it, and some cores do it. You know.
Okay.
I don't understand why people do that. To be honest, it's very strange to me when they do Magic Wand and several branches. It's very strange. For where you are right now, just do Magic Stick, and that's fine. Movement speed, not important really. Because yes, you can do the stacks and all that stuff, and that does help with that. But this is also a lane that you can just play straight up. It's not unfavored for you. This is a lane that can go either way. They can dump on the Bristleback and ruin his game, or you guys can dump on the Silencer and the PA and ruin their game. You can actually go either way. It's very even.
I just normally got the movement speed because Like, cause like it's like when you're like just like trading, because like you can just like if you like know roughly the range of it,
Mm.
like you can like go in and out like hits, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And then
I do know what you're getting at. Typically, though, movement speed is not thought of as an
well,
advantage for trading. Even I know exactly what you mean. It gives you an advantage in microing your hero, right?
yeah,
The reason why it's not super relevant though is because it's two reasons. A, you have a stun, so if you land a stun on them, you then get to land right clicks for free. You don't need the movement speed to do that, really. And B, they have two slows, and the windlace is not going to actually give you enough move speed to negate that slow. So simply because they have slows, it makes the move speed almost irrelevant in a way. The other thing is that both of these heroes are not proximity heroes. So take Slardar, for example. Slardar's a good example, right? Slardar doesn't
yeah,
harass at range. The only way Slardar damages you is by getting effectively in melee range.
yeah,
So versus a Slardar, movement speed is effective because you can constantly kite him back over and over and over and over again, and he can never get in range if you have enough move speed, right?
yeah.
So movement speed is an answer to him, but with both Silencer, well, Silencer is 100% ranged, so movement speed doesn't really help you at all, especially because he's got 600 attack range. It's not even a short range like a Luna or something. PA
Yeah.
has massive dagger range. Well, it's 550 right now, but it goes up to 750, then 950. So very quickly, she has more dagger range than you have attack range, and she has Phantom Strike, which is 1,000 cast range. So she's
Yeah.
effectively ranged regardless. So the move speed just doesn't help you here, and they have the slows on top of it. Both of them have a slow, so it doesn't. It just counteracts it effectively. So I wouldn't go Windlace here.
Okay.
If I was top, sure, you can go Windlace. That's fine. But I'm bottom, so I wouldn't bother. I would go Stick, and I would go Stats, and I'd get Sentries, and I'd make sure I have like at least one set of Tangos, and a Salve's not bad. Fairy Fire's not bad. If you want to increase your kill potential, having Blood Grenades down here would be good, because you could help your Bristleback get kills with Blood Grenade.
Okay.
It's basically everything except for movement speed is what you need. Mana regen is a little tough. I think this is a lane where you're allowed to sit still and mana drain, and it's fine because they don't instantly kill you. So, like, if you're laning
Yeah.
against a Pudge, sometimes you can't actually rely on mana drain because then he just hooks you while you're mana draining, right? These guys, you can
Uh,
rely on that, so you don't need a lot of mana regen. So, at maximum, it would be one mango.
I
Max.
normally when it's like Pudge, I try like to sidestep, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
That
No,
like
I hear you.
if like I think even if like he's in the tree,
Mhm.
like say like what silencer where say Pudge was where his silencer was right now.
Yeah.
If he shot his like thing out, you would be able to sidestep it in time if it was to hit me, if that makes sense.
Yes, but the difference there is that he forces you to sidestep versus a PA throwing a dagger at you doesn't force you to sidestep, right?
Oh yeah. So like I
You get
don't
what
know,
I'm
like so
saying?
but then yeah, but I think like the way I see it, like if he spent 100 and something, like it's like 150 mana for me to like to for him to like not get a hook on me, like he can only do it 2-3 times, and then he has to buy more regen over then.
I mean, we're
Would
talking
that
about
would
a different thing here, but I mean,
oh
you're
okay
right. If you can make him miss all his hooks while draining his mana, that is very good for you because he loses all his mana, right? But the
yeah
difference there is that if you were in, say, a Pudge PA lane and he lands a single hook on you, you probably die instantly, right? Let's
uh
say level 2
not
Pudge, level 2 PA, he lands a hook on you, you're dead because they slow you and they just damage you more than, and Bristleback can't do anything about it. So that'd be a lane where you can't. The point was you can't rely on mana drain in that type of a
oh
scenario.
would I not be able to just stand like I'll belong to the creep and suck the range creep for a bit and then go back?
I mean, you can do that, but it's still
Oh
it. The point is that it's making it more difficult in that type of a lane
okay
than this type of a lane.
okay
Yeah, you get the difference there. In this type of a lane,
yeah
it's kind of okay. I'd say even the Slardar lane is actually a lane where it gets more difficult to use mana drain because if you don't have the spacing just right, he just stuns you and then you maybe die, right? So it's harder to use in some lanes. Basically, in lanes with stuns, it's harder to use a mana drain. But I used Pudge because Pudge is the best example of a, hey, you're standing perfectly still, I'm going to punish you hero, right? These two don't punish you for standing perfectly still, typically.
I thought PA would be maybe worse, but like, but I have like, if I use my stun like on that, it's fine. But then if not, she can just still jump me. I thought, so I don't know. It's like 50-50.
It is 50-50. It's based on the timing of the spells. If you throw your stun, then you don't have your stun, then she can jump on you. Yes, you could hold your stun until she jumps on you. That's fine. You could stun her and get her low enough to where she doesn't want to jump you. There's a lot of interactions there. But
yeah,
the point was, if you're
easier than...
yeah, and when you're starting the lane off, when you're starting the game and you're like, okay, I know I'm against PA Silencer. What does that mean for my items, right?
Yeah.
It means, they don't punish mana drain very well, so I get to use it. So that means I don't have to buy a lot of mana regen.
Okay.
Versus a lane like, frickin', I don't know, Pudge Marana or Slardar or some junk like that, where they do punish you for standing still. You'd be like, okay, I might have to buy a couple mangoes because I'm not allowed to really sit still and mana drain ever. I might have to go Earth Spike Hex instead of putting any points in mana drain, even though it sucks. It doesn't feel good to do that. I might have to do that because of the lane I'm in.
In the situation like that, would it be okay if I just went the jungle and sucked a creep?
You would have to. Yeah, that's what I mean, is that the lane matchup would force you. Like, let's say you got low mana and you were against a super kill lane. It was really scary and you don't want to stand still ever. Yeah, you basically, it might be too risky to suck off a range creep. You might have to go in the jungle and use a jungle creep instead.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that, but that's better than having no mana, right?
Yeah.
So in this situation, you're not in that situation. So we don't have to worry about any of that. We can erase all of it and just think about what items do I want to buy, right?
Would that be better than getting a mango or like getting just the in the jungle for free?
If I was in a really scary lane, that means it's not just scary for me, it's scary for my core as well, which means he needs my mana. Like, if I'm against, like, let's say it's like Pudge Slardar or something, and the Pudge is a god at landing hooks, and I go, oh my god, we can't get hooked ever, or we die instantly. So I would probably buy some mangoes, and I'd get some move speed, so that I can instantly stun and hex to save myself or them. Right? Okay. I would want the option immediately, because if I'm in a situation where I'm out of mana and it's like, oh, hold up, squishy drow, I have to go get mana, let me walk away for 20 seconds and go suck off a creep and then come back. She's in the same situation you're in, where now she's like, well, god, I'm against a kill lane, what do I do? So you have to be ready to do the thing. It's basically, this whole replay review is about knowing the situation you're going to be in ahead of time, and then itemizing for it, and then recognizing the situation you're currently in, and then adjusting your gameplay. So the two adjustments would be, my team's not here, and I'm late. I can't walk in here. The second one would be, okay, I made that mistake. I was late, and I showed up anyway, and I took a bunch of damage. Now I'm sitting under my tower with 100 health and 100 mana. I should just go deny myself so that I'm ready to just TP back here and be full health and ready for the fight. Because if you were full health during this entire time, like we started the lane at a neutral state of being, at 100%, we would then have more ability to control this camp, to harass the silencer and the PA, and to basically give him a better lead. You know what I mean? Like, everything cascades off of these pre-game decisions effectively. That's the lesson for this time. So let's summarize that. So let's see. So how do we do this? So in hero select, think very hard about which heroes are going to be in your lane. Itemize specifically for those heroes. Right? So that part's all making sense. So that's the Windlace discussion, the magic stick, the sentries, all of that you do that right now. And then it would be, so in free horn, you know what I'm talking about, before the creep spawn?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your movement speed dictates how far into the map you can get. So if you know you're like, I'm a 400 move speed hero, just for an example, shit, I can get everywhere before they can. But I can't get to their tier 2 before they can. They can still get there first, but I can maybe, I can get to their camp before they get there. I can get up here to their tower and ward this before they can. So it's knowing that. So a knock-on effect from that is if you waste any time at all, you're losing that range. Does that make sense? And there can be good reasons to waste your time. Maybe you guys haven't decided on who's going to lane where, or maybe you didn't have enough time to think about this first question of what items do I need to buy. It's kind of more important that you get that right than it is that you get this right. So it might be worth it to sit there and really think about what items do I want, just so long as you're getting to the lane on time once the creeps spawn. So, it's a downside, right, but it's not like a massive downside, like the bounty runes are important. They're not that important,
Okay.
If I legitimately thought that if we contested the runes we were all going to die, I would just say fuck it, they get the runes then. Is like
3 bounty runes worth like the first blood or no?
I think the bounty rune fight in general is both teams gambling that they have an advantage. Both teams think either they haven't put any thought at all into it and then it's just a stupid decision, or they've both thought about it and they both like, yeah, we have stronger level 1. That means we can fight and we can pretty much guarantee that we're going to get first blood or more kills than them. And then you start the game with an advantage. But it is a gamble. Every team fight's a gamble, and especially one right at the beginning of the game that might take a little bit longer than you want to, and it then immediately grief your lane, as like sort of what happened here. You made a pregame movement, took a bunch of damage, you griefed yourself, and then ruined your own lane. And that's obviously the knock-on effect of that is terrible. And what was the upside of doing the whole thing in the first place is like we wanted to get a ward down, right? Yeah. Well, you could have warded after the creep spawned. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's wrong. I do the same movement. Like literally, almost every game, I run to, let's say I'm dire and I'm safe lane. I run over here and I think about, like, let's say I know I want to block the camp. I run here immediately and I block the camp. Or if I'm going down here, I run down here and I block the camp. Or I run down here and I put a ward right away. Or if it's like, hey, we're strong level 1, I'm going to buy a smoke and we're all going to run over here and do a fight instead. But every game I try to get moving out of the gate immediately. And that's a good thing. And sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes I screw it up. Sometimes I got to think a little bit too hard about my items. Then it's just a missed opportunity. So then you can't force it and you have to say, okay, missed opportunity, screw it, I'm forgetting about it, I'm going to move on to the next thing. Okay. So in this instance, let's say you got here late and you really wanted this ward here. That means that you probably have to sentry it as well, because you're late. You have to assume that he warded first. So now you also have to bring a sentry just for this.
Like say, like I knew he had a ward there.
Yeah.
Is it ever like okay to just like not deward it and know that he has a ward there?
That's a good question. I would say that if he has a ward there and you don't have a ward there, then there's no downside to dewarding it as long as it's safe. So like we're going to go over and we're going to deward the thing and I know I'm not going to die and I'm going to get the deward and he's not going to deny it. Yes, you should do it because you're denying him vision and you get gold and you get XP for killing the ward. You should always do it. Now, if you think it's too dangerous to go for the deward, then no, you probably don't want to deward it because maybe you'll die in the process or maybe he'll deny it anyway, right? Now, in the other situation, let's say you've warded it first and then you see him ward it. Well, now, obviously dewarding is still good, but then you get into the mind game of like, well, then how does he know that I know that he has a ward there? So then, right? So then it's a question of like, is it a good time, and am I going to be revealing information? And it's honestly, we can come back to that question later, because that's going to be 1% of games where you're even in that situation. I wouldn't worry about that. I would say in general, if you know there's a ward there, go ahead and kill the ward.
It happens quite a lot sometimes, like, because like I check like inventory like space, if that makes sense. So like I normally see where like they place wards. If that makes sense.
Then deward it. You know, as long as it's safe, go ahead, go punish them. That's them screwing up. That's.
Okay.
Remember what I was talking about the like the silencer has an opportunity here, and if he doesn't take it, then he screwed up. If you see that they have a ward, and then they showed you that information, and then they go and ward, they've now given you an opportunity to punish them.
Because it's but then it's like if I know that it's only like a normal ward and not a sentry though.
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to then? But then if I place my observer there, that we just both have observers there, if that makes sense.
If you know that he has a ward there first, and then you put your ward there, then you have to assume that he knows that you did that.
Yeah, and then he would also want to deward my ward, so like, if that makes sense.
Yes,
if I was to place one there.
Yeah.
So do I sometimes just allow his ward to be there, so then I can have a ward there also, basically?
Only if you put your ward there first.
Okay.
Because if you're putting it second, then you're giving him the information that the ward is there. We're assuming that he's paying attention, right? We're assuming that the silencer is an immortal player, and he's paying attention to your inventory, and he's watching.
No, or he knows that I have I had a ward now, or I don't have one. Does that make sense? Because like I used to like sometimes like start the game off like with a ward, and then like put it in the tree, like on the floor, and then just like let them put their ward there, and then like I would then go deward it for free mine like after, because he would assume I had the ward there and he couldn't find it.
I would say it literally has to do with who puts their ward down first.
Okay.
Whoever puts their ward down first has the advantage.
Oh, okay.
They do, because if he puts his ward down first, and then you want to ward this mountain, he sees you warding it, so then he knows there's a ward there. If you put yours down first, now you see when he's going to walk over and ward it, so then you get to deward him, because we don't want them to have any wards at all. Right? Like, why would we want them to have vision? That's not good for us.
Don't they deward our ward though?
Well, you don't have to spend your observer to deward it. So that's that. Okay, I see what you're saying. So let's say he wards it first, and you want vision of this area, right? You know he has a ward.
Yeah.
You then are not. You shouldn't put your observer ward in the same place that he put his, because if he's smart, like he's gonna go over here once you deward him and then see if you put a ward there, right? So then what you would have to do is you'd have to put a sentry up here to deward it, and then you'd have to ward somewhere nearby that gives you similar information, but not in the exact same spot. That's usually risky unless you know you're going to have a fight in this area. Like, let's say it was a 5v5 fight here. He throws his ward down. Screw it. Put your ward down right away, because it's a 5v5 fight and you want full vision, right?
Okay.
Then we're not worried about the efficiency of the ward economy, right? The vision is more important. In this instance, this is passive. This ward actually it doesn't do anything. No one is going to die because this is warded or not warded. So you can go deward this when you want to. It's not imperative.
So if I was to like, obviously I don't have a ward there now, but say like it's getting towards like maybe like 6 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And like I want to have it there for like, because I don't want to get ganked from their like mid laner.
Yeah.
Would it be okay? Should I not deward it so I have vision of their mid laner, if that makes sense?
If you don't deward it, then you have to assume that he saw you warding it, which means he's going to deward you. So what that means is if you suspect there's a ward here, or you're not sure, and you know it's important that you want vision in this area, and I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say. It's 6 minutes. I want vision here so my guy doesn't get ganked. Totally reasonable. Yeah. You have to sentry it first. Either use your courier or a spell to see the top of the mountain, or you just put your sentry on top of the mountain. You have to check if he has vision there first. And then once you verify that he doesn't have vision there, then you're allowed to put a ward there. If you go put a sentry here and he did have a ward here and then you kill it, you actually kind of can't really ward the same spot without giving away that ward. So you might have to put it a little bit farther outside of sentry range.
Okay. But then if I go there and he sees that I maybe like he wasn't checking my inventory at the time, but I just leave his ward up there, if that makes sense.
I wouldn't.
Like, and then,
Don't.
oh,
Just cancel that idea. Just there's almost never an instance where you would purposely leave a ward there.
Where would be the next best place to place a ward in this area?
Okay.
That gives me vision for a gank.
So the next best place would be a place that isn't spotted by this ward, first off. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to put it... so we're going to assume that he has this ward. This ward exists, right? So it would...
One on the rock.
Yeah, we're going to assume the one on the mountain exists. It would have to be outside of this range. So it would probably be in this area right here. Right here, or right here, or... even if you can actually get over to mid and put a ward like here or over here or something to see the mid laner's movements, because that was the goal, right? We want to see if the mid laner is coming down. So basically it would be up here or over here or here or here, or this spot's not bad, but this is spotted by this ward. That's pretty much it. Those are the only real good options, because anywhere else doesn't really see his rotations. Like, you wouldn't want to put a ward over here, right? This kind of sucks. I also don't mind putting a ward actually right here next to this tree, just so I have vision of the camps and stuff, and that helps a little bit. But I think it's right here. I think it's around the bounty rune is kind of the best bet, because you're going to see the mid laner rotating through this path or this path or this path if you just stick it, like, you know, here or here. Probably right here. Probably this is the best one right here that sees everything. Or just in mid right here. Could be good. That doesn't protect you against TP ganks. So in that case, this ward protects against TP ganks. Or one behind the tower sees if anybody's TPing in. That's not bad. Other wards, like if you're going to leave your offlaner alone and you want to give him vision, any of these ones that we talked about, any ones on the tower, even ones on the outpost or ones on the gate can be helpful for him. Or in really weird situations, you might want to ward the Lotus thing if he's very, very zoned. But I mean, it's kind of a waste of a ward, but that could be an okay spot too. It's mainly these other surrounding perimeter wards you would want, because this is the best one. Obviously, this is just the far and away the best ward in the area. And that's why I always say that I think the safe lane should get an observer ward and not the top lane, because the top lane doesn't have a great ward spot. So why would we prioritize that? This is the priority. This is one of the best wards in the game if it stays up. For that purpose, you know.
I normally think safe lane shouldn't get a ward, because they should be in the safe, because it's a safe lane.
It's not the safe lane, it's bot lane specifically, because there's a dire safe lane and there's a radiant safe lane, but it is specifically bot lane has a mountain and top lane doesn't have a mountain. So yeah, that's why I think there's one of the wards should go to the bot lane, whether that's dire or radiant, and the top lane really doesn't need one unless they're in a strange scenario where they're like gonna courier snipe constantly or something like that, you know, or they're against a pudge or something. Like, typically top does not need a ward. Mid lane should pretty much always have a ward, but then there's situations where the mid lane doesn't need a ward either, because they're both melee and they can't even utilize it, you know. They don't need to like aggro on high ground and stuff like that because they're both melee, so sometimes they don't need one. But for you, what I would say is make sure mid lane has at least one ward, and then make sure bot lane has at least one ward. As you get higher and higher and higher, that ruling changes, so people start spending the wards on bounty rune fights or on very specific like mid lane rotations. Like they might put a ward back here to see when the mid laner is farming or something like that. But in general, it's just kind of like this ward and this ward. Pretty simple. And then it's just a tempo game of whoever gets here first and whoever spends more sentries on it. And frequently, if you feel like he's contesting this ward, then you're not allowed to use the spot anymore, and you have to find another place. Yeah. Okay, that's a lot. We talked a lot about wards. So what's the takeaway from all that? What did we get out of that?
Place ward first if bot.
Yeah. Placing ward first gives you the advantage. Yep. What else?
If they always de-ward their ward, never leave it up.
Yep. Always de-ward their ward. I think there might be some super high MMR examples you could probably find somewhere of someone baiting someone with vision because they left the ward up on purpose. But that is like galaxy brain shit. We're not going to worry about that. That very rarely happens. So I would say this is just pretty much 99% correct. Just de-ward the ward if you know it's there, so long as it's safe and you're not going to die in the process.
Yeah.
That's the caveat there. Don't die de-warding. But if you can do it safely, go ahead and do it. If safe.
Okay.
You do. Okay. What else do we get out of the ward discussion there?
If you destroy a ward, don't place it in the same place they had theirs.
Yeah, a de-warded in a ward spot. Refrain from warding the same spot. Now there can be exceptions to this, and that's basically if it's a very important objective or it's in the middle of a team fight. And it's just important that you have vision at all times, regardless of whether they're going to find the ward. It's just really important that we have vision here. Then you can break that rule. But if you're just talking about efficiency, then this is correct. Don't reward where they just warded, or you just dewarded them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else, or that's pretty good already? I think. Do you have anything else there?
Maybe get like one lane. Like if you can, don't put your D ward and then your lane view ward in the same space.
Yeah, that's also a good one too. It's basically going greedy with your sentry ward, right? Trying to get more than just the ward spot. So look for efficiency with sentry placement. Basically, that's all that is. Like for example, this ward that the silencer put here, right? So this one is in the box. It's accomplishing the goal of seeing this, and it's also blocking this. But could it be more efficient if he placed it up here? Because then he would see this ward spot. Maybe he thought you would ward down here, so he would want to push it to the right a little bit more to see over here. Personally, I would say if he's gonna block your camp and ward this, then what he should do is put his sentry away from the mountain so that your sentry can't get both at once. So I would sentry on the right side of the camp or the top side of the camp and then put my ward here so that he can't grab both. Because theoretically, you walk over here and you put one sentry here and you de-ward his observer and his sentry at the same time. So he's got a little bit of a lazy placement here that you can get an efficiency bonus on, Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Okay. So let's look at next steps. So we mainly talked about warding. We talked about our pregame item buying, our pre-horn movements, thinking a lot about in hero select what the matchup's going to be. So I would like this then. I want to see, how about next week? We focus on multiple games and thinking about your pregame itemization and how that goes into the lane matchup. And then I want to see how fast you're getting out of the pool and into the map.
Okay.
Yeah, so like our goal is that we thought about it ahead of time, we bought our items, and then we got moving immediately and we got to where we wanted to go immediately.
Okay.
So buy items quickly before game starts. Think about optimal buys. Get moving before the horn blows and get whatever you want to do. Get whatever you want to do What am I trying to say here? Get whatever you're trying to do done early.
Yeah.
Actually, faster than the enemy team. We want to get there first, and we want to ward first, if that's what we're trying to do. If we're trying to smoke, we want to get in position first, you know, all that stuff.
Okay.
So no dawdling. That's hard, but it is a massive advantage if you can do it. So I think it'll be good. But the main thing is going to be the optimal items, and then just not wasting any time early on. All right, and I think we can call it there, unless there's anything we missed. I think we're good. Well, thanks, man.
No,
good job. I'm glad you got another MMR bump. Big improvement there. And I think we talked about some pretty important stuff this time. So,
yeah.
Good. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Good. All right, man. I'll catch you later then. Have a good one.
All right.
Peace.
I'll see you later. Thank you.
Welcome. Bye. All right, guys, if that was helpful, don't forget to check the playlist out at the end of the video. It has my other Dota coaching videos in there. This is week 8. We've done 7 other with this student. I have another student. We've done like 20 some odd with him as well. We do this every week, and it's a progressive thing, and we look at the progress from week to week. So if you find this is helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps me out a lot. And if you want to get coached by me, you can check out my Patreon, and I have different rates on there. And anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.